One of the most misunderstood things about INFPs is the strange feeling that they can somehow predict the future. Friends often tell them, "You said this was going to happen," or "How did you know?" Even INFPs themselves sometimes become unsettled by how often their hunches turn out to be correct. They may dream about an event before it happens, feel uneasy around someone who later reveals harmful intentions, or sense that a relationship is nearing its end long before there is any obvious evidence. Experiences like these have led many people to describe INFPs as psychic. Whether this is actually psychic ability depends on what you believe. Psychology offers one explanation, while spirituality offers another. Regardless of which perspective you adopt, one thing is undeniable. Many INFPs possess an unusually refined intuition that often appears almost supernatural to those around them. The first thing to understand is that INFP intuition is different from simple guessing. Guessing is random. Intuition is pattern recognition occurring beneath conscious awareness. The human brain is constantly absorbing information that never reaches conscious thought. Facial expressions lasting a fraction of a second, subtle changes in someone's voice, inconsistencies in stories, shifts in body language, emotional tension in a room, recurring behavioral patterns. All of these are quietly processed without deliberate effort. Most people notice only what they consciously focus on. INFPs often absorb far more than they realize. Their minds collect tiny emotional and behavioral clues, storing them almost like invisible puzzle pieces. Then, suddenly, everything clicks together into what feels like a gut feeling. They cannot always explain why they know something. They simply know. This is one reason why their intuition can appear psychic. The conclusion arrives long before the conscious reasoning behind it becomes visible. The cognitive functions associated with the INFP personality type offer another explanation. They lead with introverted feeling, a function deeply attuned to emotional authenticity, internal values, and subtle emotional changes. Their auxiliary function, extrovert intuition, constantly scans for possibilities, hidden meanings, future outcomes, and alternative scenarios. Together, these functions create an unusual mental process. Introverted feeling asks, "What feels true?" while extroverted intuition asks, "What could happen next?" Instead of focusing only on present facts, the mind of an INFP naturally projects current emotional patterns into the future. If someone repeatedly avoids responsibility, an INFP may quietly predict future betrayal. If a friendship begins losing emotional sincerity, they may sense its eventual collapse. If a workplace develops unhealthy dynamics, they often foresee burnout months before everyone else notices. To outsiders, this can seem like prophecy. In reality, they have simply followed emotional trajectories further than other people have. One fascinating aspect of INFP intuition is that it often works through symbols rather than direct facts. Their minds naturally think in metaphors, stories, images, and emotional associations. This symbolic way of processing information allows them to notice connections that highly analytical personalities may dismiss. An ordinary conversation might remind them of a novel they once read. A person's behavior may resemble a historical figure. A dream might suddenly connect with a real-life situation. An unrelated memory may illuminate a current problem. Their brain constantly forms bridges between seemingly unrelated experiences. This web-like style of thinking enables insights that appear to emerge from nowhere. Dreams are another area where many INFPs report remarkably intuitive experiences. Because they spend significant time reflecting on emotions, unresolved questions, and possibilities, their unconscious mind continues processing information while they sleep. Sometimes they awaken with unexpected clarity. Other times they experience dreams that later seem strangely connected to future events. Psychologically, dreams often reflect unconscious pattern recognition rather than supernatural foresight. The brain continues organizing information that conscious awareness has not fully processed. However, for those with spiritual beliefs, Dreams may also serve as channels for deeper guidance. Regardless of interpretation, INFPs frequently find that important insights arrive during sleep rather than waking analysis. Another reason people mistake INFP intuition for psychic ability is their sensitivity to emotional energy. Although energy is interpreted differently across psychology and spirituality, there is considerable evidence that humans unconsciously detect emotional states through countless subtle cues. INFPs tend to be exceptionally receptive to these signals. They often notice emotional exhaustion before someone admits feeling tired. They recognize hidden sadness beneath forced smiles. They detect growing resentment hidden behind polite conversation. They sense fear concealed beneath confidence. Because these perceptions occur automatically, they often describe them simply as feelings. I don't know why. I just have a bad feeling. Something feels off. Later, when events confirm those impressions, others become amazed. But what looked like magic was often extraordinary emotional observation. They also excel at recognizing inconsistencies between words and emotions. Someone may confidently claim everything is fine. Their facial expressions say otherwise. Their tone carries hesitation. Their body posture reveals tension. Their timing feels unnatural. Most people focus on the spoken message. INFPs often perceive the emotional message underneath it. This gives them an uncanny ability to identify deception, emotional withdrawal, hidden anxiety, or internal conflict before others notice. Their intuition becomes even stronger because they naturally spend time in reflection. Unlike personalities who immediately react to external events, they often withdraw internally after experiences. They replay conversations. They reconsider decisions. They examine motives. They question emotional dynamics. Although excessive rumination can become unhealthy, healthy reflection allows scattered observations to organize themselves into coherent insights. Hours or even days after an interaction, they suddenly understand exactly what was happening. This delayed clarity often feels almost mystical. Many INFPs also possess remarkable empathy, but empathy is frequently misunderstood. Genuine empathy is not merely feeling sorry for someone. It is accurately sensing another person's internal emotional landscape. Because they instinctively imagine life from another person's perspective, they often anticipate reactions before they occur. If someone has consistently felt ignored, they may predict emotional withdrawal. If another person suppresses anger for months, they may foresee an eventual emotional explosion. If someone's deepest values continue being violated, they may anticipate sudden life changes. These predictions arise not from fortune-telling, but from understanding human emotional patterns. One reason INFP intuition sometimes fails, however, is equally important. Their imagination is extraordinarily powerful. The same mind capable of remarkable insight can also generate endless hypothetical scenarios. Anxiety can disguise itself as intuition. Fear can imitate certainty. Past trauma can create false alarms. Wishful thinking can appear like destiny. Because extrovert intuition constantly explores possibilities, not every possibility reflects reality. Healthy INFPs learn to distinguish genuine intuition from emotional projection. True intuition often feels calm. Fear feels urgent. True intuition is quiet. Anxiety shouts. True intuition rarely needs to convince itself. Fear constantly seeks reassurance. Learning this distinction is one of the most valuable skills an INFP can develop. Many spiritually inclined INFPs describe their intuition in terms of divine guidance, synchronicity, or inner knowing. They often experience meaningful coincidences that seem too perfectly timed to dismiss. Perhaps they think about someone moments before receiving a message. Perhaps a book unexpectedly answers a question they have struggled with for months. Perhaps recurring symbols appear during major life decisions. Whether these experiences represent psychological confirmation bias or genuine spiritual guidance depends largely on one's worldview. What matters is that INFPs naturally remain open to meaning rather than dismissing every unusual experience outright. Their search for significance often deepens their intuitive awareness. This search for meaning is central to understanding why INFP intuition feels so different from other forms of perception. Many personalities primarily ask, "What is happening?" INFPs instinctively ask, "What does this mean?" That single question changes everything. While others are satisfied with observable facts, they search for purpose, emotional significance, hidden motives, and long-term implications. They rarely stop at the surface of an event. Instead, they instinctively explore what the event represents beneath appearances. This constant search for deeper meaning often allows them to identify the direction in which situations are moving before anyone else recognizes the trend. Another remarkable characteristic of the INFP mind is its ability to connect present emotions with future possibilities. Emotions, for them, are not isolated experiences, they are signals. A person's growing cynicism may indicate future disillusionment. A small act of dishonesty may point toward larger betrayals later. A recurring pattern of avoidance may eventually become complete emotional withdrawal. They notice these subtle trajectories because they view emotions as living processes rather than temporary moods. They understand that people rarely change overnight. Instead, they gradually become more of who they have consistently been. By recognizing these gradual shifts early, they often appear to predict outcomes long before others see the warning signs. Their intuition also becomes stronger because they are unusually comfortable with uncertainty. Many people rush to conclusions because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. INFPs are more willing to let questions remain unanswered while quietly observing. They collect more information without forcing immediate judgments. Ironically, this patience often produces more accurate insights. Rather than grabbing the first explanation that fits, they allow hidden patterns to reveal themselves over time. When the answer finally arrives, it often feels instantaneous, even though their unconscious mind has been assembling it for weeks or months. There's also an emotional honesty within healthy INFPs that strengthens their intuitive perception. Because they spend so much time examining their own motivations, fears, contradictions, and desires, they gradually become skilled at recognizing those same dynamics in others. Self-awareness sharpens people awareness. An INFP who has learned to identify self-deception within themselves becomes surprisingly good at recognizing it in other people. They notice when someone's confidence masks insecurity, when kindness conceals resentment, or when enthusiasm hides desperation. Their own inner work becomes the foundation of their seemingly psychic understanding of human nature. Ultimately, whether you describe INFP intuition as extraordinary pattern recognition, profound empathy, unconscious information processing, spiritual discernment, or genuine psychic sensitivity, depends on your personal beliefs. What cannot easily be dismissed is the consistency with which many INFPs arrive at accurate insights without following an obvious logical path. They often sense shifts before they become visible, understand emotions before they are expressed, and recognize destinations while others are still focused on the first few steps of the journey. Their gift is not necessarily the ability to see a fixed future. Rather, it is the remarkable ability to perceive the invisible currents that quietly shape the future long before they become visible to everyone else. One final thought. Many INFPs have a story the world needs to hear. If that's you, and you're ready to turn your experiences, insights, and life lessons into a self-help or non-fiction book, check out the INFJ Author Blueprint through the link in the video description.